everyone and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video I am going to be doing a video on how I contour, bronze, blush and highlight. So it was requested that I do this video from an old friend, so I thought I would do this video. It's just a good follow-up as well from my foundation, concealer and powder video. I'll leave that video linked below if you're interested in checking that video out. But this here is a bit more in depth on contouring and highlighting and blush and bronzer. I know a lot of people struggle with doing contouring or blush and bronzer, so this is just going to be a video based all on that. So I've already got all my foundation on, powder, concealer, all of that stuff, and then I've also got obviously my eye makeup done as well. All I have left to do, I don't have any lipstick on, I haven't done anything to the cheek area, so I can show you how I would do that. So for my contour today I'm going to be using the Tarte Tarteist contour palette. So this here has got your highlighting powders in it, it's got your blush and then your two contour shades. So I'm going to be using the contour number 3 shade to contour today, and then I'll use the blush in this palette as well, and then it has a highlighter in here as well, so I might use that one or I may use a different one. I'm not really sure yet, but I'll see how I go. I always like to start out with contour because your contour needs a little bit more blending, and so then when you put your blush and your bronzer and things over the top you can blend out your contour easier, if that makes sense. If you're doing powder contour, powder blush or anything like that, you usually want to make sure you've set your foundation with some sort of powder unless your foundation sets itself, but otherwise if you have a really tacky base it's not going to blend the product out very easily. Obviously it's all about the blending, so you need it to be nice and set first. My favourite contour brush is the Sigma F05 small contour brush, so that's the brush I'm going to be using today. So all I do is I just put my brush straight down into the contour powder, tap off the excess. Where you want to apply the contour, if you create a line between the top of the ear to the corner of the mouth, you want it to be sort of in that area. It's the hollows of your cheekbones, but if you can't find the hollows of your cheekbones, that's why you need to contour. Usually if you create an invisible line between the corner of the ear to the center of the mouth, you don't want to bring your contour any further than where your eye would sit. So if you're looking straight ahead, you don't want it to be closer to your mouth and that sort of thing. So focus it on the outer part, closer to the ear and the hairline. Otherwise it can start to look quite muddy if you bring it too far into the mouth and just really unnatural. I've got the product on the brush and then I just apply it where I just said. I usually just do this with my mouth just to create that line a bit more, and then I just bring the brush back and forth in just a short motion to really start to carve out that cheekbone. With your contour as well, contour powder needs to be relatively cool toned. The difference between a contour and a bronzer's usually got a lot more warmth to it. Some bronzers work really well for contouring though, but some definitely do not. So you just want to keep building that up. I usually just kind of blend it out in small circular motions. That is probably all I'm going to do for contour today. I don't want it to be too over the top. And then sometimes you can contour your forehead as well. So if you have a large forehead, you can do your contour around there. So you can bring it in kind of right across the top of the forehead. If you have a small forehead, don't contour your forehead. Otherwise, it'll make it look smaller. Some people have a very small forehead and then it can look silly if you contour it. Contouring is all about creating shadow and structure, so you can really change up the shape of your face almost. You can also apply a little bit just here on the temple. You kind of want to give some colour to other parts of your face. You don't really want to just leave a stripe here and then not have colour other parts of the face, otherwise it can look quite unnatural. So just do the same on the other side. You want to kind of blend upwards rather than blending down. You don't want it to be too far down and you want it to be quite a straight line. It's basically just to look like you've got hollows in your cheeks. If you're a very thin person or you're quite skinny anyway, or you naturally have more really defined cheekbones, sometimes it can actually be unflattering to contour. So just bear that in mind as well. The way that I'm contouring now is more to define your cheekbones. So if you've already got really defined cheekbones, cheekbones, you don't actually need to contour. Now you can contour under the jawline. I'm actually terrible at contouring here, but I'll do it for the sake of this video. I never usually do it because I can't seem to get it to look natural. I feel like it just looks like I've gone a bit ham on the contour around this area. It doesn't look like I'm just naturally got a more chiseled jaw kind of thing. You can do cream contour as well if you would prefer. Cream contour generally suits dry skin a lot better because you might not like to use a lot of powder on your face. And then some people will contour the nose as well. Now I don't feel like I have a particularly large nose. If you were to contour the nose, most people just do a little bit on the sides. I'm just taking that same brush. If you were doing a really defined contour, you'd normally go with a smaller brush. The reason I think it looks nice if you do add just a hint of colour on the nose is because it kind of brings it all together. That way you've got a little bit of that colour there rather than it just being on the outer parts of the face. Okay, so that's really all you need to do for contour, and then you can move on to blush, bronzer, all that stuff. I'll do bronzer next just because that's got your warmth to it. I'm going to use the Hourglass Radiant Bronze Light. This is quite a warm bronzer. It can look a little bit orangey almost sometimes, so you have to be careful to use a really light hand with this. I'm now taking a bigger brush. This is the F10 powder blush brush, so it's a bit of a bigger brush. It's more like a standard blush brush. Still tapping off the excess of the product. With your bronzer compared to your contour more creates the shape, and then your bronzer can be applied on the top more so of the cheek, but still at the backs of the cheeks I find looks the most flattering. And it will help to blend out your contour, because sometimes if you just do a contour on its own, it can look a little bit more dull and grey, depending on how cool toned your contour is. I think some can be way too cool toned and then some are too warm, so you've just got to be really careful. I think it's about trial and error with contouring powders. I find the Tarte one is a really good colour. I'm just dusting a little bit along the top of my forehead just to give myself a little bit more of a warmth. With bronzer, it gives more of a sun-kissed kind of a glow to the skin, whereas your contour creates more of your structure. And once again, just on the backs of the cheeks. Alright, so now we've got our contour and bronzer done. We're looking quite nice. You could just leave it like this if you wanted to. Some people don't like wearing blush. Me personally, I can't go without it. So I am going to be using the blush that comes in this Tarte palette as well. So it's a really pretty pinky tone. So with picking a blush colour, you can choose your blush colour depending on what eye makeup you're doing, what outfits you're wearing. So this blush here that comes in this Tarte palette is quite a neutral colour. So it'll go with a lot of makeup and a lot of outfit ideas and things like that. I have got quite a few different blushes, so I just usually choose which one depending on how I'm doing my makeup that day. For my blush, I'm going to be using the large angled contour brush, and this is the number F40 from Sigma. I usually start at the apples of the cheeks and then blend it up towards the hairline. In comparison to where we've applied our bronzer, it's further at the front of the cheek, and then you sort of blend it back into the bronzer, and then compared to the contour, it's above the contour. You do want the majority of the colour to be on the apples of the cheeks, because if you have most of your colour up this way, that's not where you naturally flush. It does look more natural if you blend it up towards there. For some reason blush doesn't show up as well on camera, so I'm probably applying a little bit more than what I normally would. The other thing to remember as well is if you've got a lot of texture in your skin or really big open pores or anything like that, if you use a shimmery blush, it will accentuate it. So anything that has shimmer is going to accentuate any texture in the skin. So if you've got really bumpy skin on your cheeks or anything like that, I would use a matte blush. Beautiful. So now I'm going to highlight. So then for my highlighter, I use the Sigma Tapered Highlighter F35 brush. So this one has a nice point to it. It's really nice and soft, and it blends out your highlighter really beautifully. So I'm going to use this middle colour here from the palette. This one here is the only shimmery shade in this palette, and it has a little bit of shimmer. It's not really strong, this highlight. You can get much stronger ones. So I've just got my product on the brush, and then all you want to do is just apply it on the top of the cheekbones. And then you can bring it up and around sort of towards the temple, like on the outer part of the brow. I usually don't mind highlighting in these areas because I don't get any oil there. I mostly get oil through the T-zone. I don't get oil on the tops of the cheekbones. So you can see this highlighter is quite nice and subtle. It's not too over the top, but I actually really like that about this highlighter. I've heard negative reviews about this palette because they're highlighter, but I actually really like it. If you are more mature and you have a lot of lines around this eye area, make sure that your highlighter just comes a little bit lower than any lines, because like I said before, highlighter will accentuate any texture on the skin, and that includes fine lines. It will just sit in them and draw attention. I don't think anyone wants their lines to be accentuated. And then I know some people also like to highlight other areas. It's really popular to highlight the tip of the nose. But I get quite oily, so I don't want to have like an oily nose by the end of the day, but I'll do it for the sake of this video. So people will sometimes highlight the tip of the nose or even like down the bridge of the nose. I'm not going to highlight the whole bridge of my nose though, otherwise I'll be a shiny mess by the end of the day. It's very, very popular to highlight your cupid's bow because it accentuates the lip area and it draws attention to your lips. So lots of people will go quite heavy-handed with the highlighter in this area. And then you do obviously usually put lipstick over the top. And then some people will even put highlighter just up here on the temples. Really depends on your skin. If you're more dry, you can go a bit more crazy with highlighter because your skin is dry, so it's never going to look oily. If your skin's already oily, you do run the risk of it making you look even oilier. That's why I quite like this more subtle highlight that comes in the Tarte palette, because it is really wearable and it's not too much. Especially if you do have more texture, you could use something like this that's not going to pick up on it as much. So that is all I do for my contour, bronzer, blush and highlighter. I hope you learned something new in this video and found it really informative and helpful. If you did like this video, please give it a like, please thumbs up the video, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!